Far from China's glittering coastal megacities lies a world that few outsiders ever truly see, a land carved by mountains, molded by deep valleys, and shaped by centuries of cultural isolation. This is Yunnan, a province unlike any other, home to 25 officially recognized ethnic groups, each carrying traditions, languages, and customs that have survived against time, terrain, and the pressures of modernization. Here, every ridge hides a story, every village preserves a legacy, and every festival carries the heartbeat of an ancient past. In this journey, we step into the Highlands, where history is not written in books, it is woven into clothing, sung in rituals, and passed from one generation to the next. From the Wa communities of Kanjiwan, hidden deep in the mountains, to the day people thriving along tropical rivers, Yunnan is a living museum of human resilience. Its landscapes cradle cultures that evolved in isolation, yet radiate richness and diversity unmatched anywhere else in China. As globalization accelerates and modern development sweeps across the region, these cultures stand at a crossroads. Some traditions are being rediscovered, others transformed, and many are fighting to survive. Today, we explore the stories behind this extraordinary mosaic, how people endured, adapted, and preserved their identity across centuries. If you love exploring cultures, untold histories, and hidden corners of the world, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Your support helps us bring more stories from places where heritage still breathes in every step, every song, and every sunrise. Let us uncover the secrets of Yunnan together. As we travel deeper into Yunnan's highlands, the modern world begins to fade behind us, replaced by winding mountain roads and mist-covered slopes that feel untouched by time. Here, in the secluded county of Kanjiwan, the landscape itself seems to guard a culture that has grown in harmony with the forests and ridgelines for countless generations. This is the home of the Wa people, a community whose identity has been shaped as much by isolation as by the fierce determination to preserve their way of life. Their traditions are not relics displayed behind glass. They are living practices embedded in daily rituals, ancient songs, and symbols that remain part of the land they walk on. Approaching a Wa village, one immediately senses a rhythm different from the bustling markets of Cumming or the tea fields of Pu'er. Wooden houses stand perched on stilts, surrounded by terraces that trace the curves of the mountains. The scent of wood smoke drifts through the cool air, and distant voices carry the melodies of traditional chants. For the Wa, spirituality is woven into every aspect of life. Their belief system embraces multiple deities connected to nature, ancestors, and the forces that shape their world. These beliefs guide not just ceremonies but the very structure of their community, where the living, the natural environment, and unseen spirit exist in delicate balance. Among the most striking aspects of Wa culture are the rituals centered around buffalo, animals long regarded not merely as livestock but as bridges between the physical and spiritual realms. These rituals, practiced for centuries, represent offerings of gratitude, hope, and renewal. They reflect a worldview that understands survival as a shared effort between people and the land that sustains them. In moments of celebration or times when blessings are sought, the community gathers with a solemnity that reveals how deeply tradition still anchors their identity. Kanjiwan also holds another treasure of the Wa, ancient rock paintings discovered in the 1960s. These images, brushed on cliff faces and cave walls, capture fragments of a distant past: hunters with bows, dancers in motion, animals intertwined with human figures. They whisper of a time before written records, when stories were carried through images and passed down through ritual rather than ink. To stand before these paintings is to glimpse the early heartbeat of the Wa people, a reminder that their presence in these mountains spans far beyond the memories of any living elder. Yet, among all their customs, none reveals the spirit of the Wa more vividly than the Manahai Carnival, a festival that transforms the quiet valleys into an explosion of laughter, color, and motion. Each year, the community gathers to celebrate through a tradition that might surprise newcomers, an exuberant mud celebration symbolizing luck, protection, and beauty. As villagers prepare the dark, thick mixture in large tubs, the anticipation begins to grow. Drums echo across the plaza, dancers perform with sweeping movements of long hair, and singers chant melodies passed down through generations. When the moment arrives, the celebration erupts with infectious energy. Mud flies through the air, covering faces, clothing, and hair in streaks of black that mark blessings for the year ahead. For the young, it is a moment of pure joy. For families, it is a symbolic reminder of unity and renewal. For the elders, it is a reaffirmation that even as the world changes rapidly beyond their mountains, the traditions that define them still hold power. In Kanjuan, culture is not fading into memory. It is adaptive and proudly displayed for anyone willing to journey far enough to see it. As the mountains of Kanjuan rise and fall like ancient waves frozen in time, the story of the Wa people begins to intersect with a force far larger than ritual, memory, or geography. For centuries, their survival depended on slash-and-burn farming, a practice shaped by the steep terrain and limited arable land. Life moved with the pace of the seasons, and the knowledge passed down by elders when to clear a patch of forest, how to tend the dry hill rice, and where to search for natural water sources hidden between the ridges. It was a rhythm that defined generations, but also one that kept communities on the edge of hardship, vulnerable to droughts, poor harvests, and the unpredictability of mountain weather. As we follow their story from sacred festivals and mystical rock paintings into the modern era, it becomes clear that the landscape itself could no longer sustain the growing needs of the people living within it. Beginning in the 1950s, sweeping reforms brought profound transformation to these remote regions. Teams of engineers, agronomists, and local officials traveled deep into the mountains, reaching villages that had previously been known only through oral stories or narrow footpaths. Their goal was not merely to redesign farming methods, but to reshape the future of entire communities. Terraces were carved more systematically into hillsides. Irrigation channels stretched across land that had never seen year-round water. And new tools replaced the handmade implements that had served families for generations. Seeds adapted to the climate were distributed widely, and the people, once accustomed to coaxing crops out of dry earth, began learning the art of managing water, soil, and shared farmland. The transition was not instantaneous, nor was it without hesitation. For many elders, the old methods represented identity and continuity, symbols of a world where each family relied on its own labor and ancestral knowledge. Yet as the first irrigated fields shimmered under the sun and harvests steadily improved, change became less an intrusion and more a promise. Children who grew up helping their parents burn patches of forest began instead to tend organized plots of green rice paddies, their reflections visible in the clear water that filled the valley floors. Villages that once struggled to produce enough food now found themselves able to store grain, trade surplus harvests, and eventually explore new economic opportunities far beyond agriculture. This gradual improvement in living standards opened doors that had never existed before. Roads, once mid-dirt trails winding along cliffs, were expanded and fortified, linking isolated communities to markets, schools, and healthcare centers. With mobility came interaction, and the Wa, along with the many other ethnic groups scattered across Yunnan, began sharing their traditions with visitors, researchers, and travelers curious to learn about cultures that had long remained hidden. Festivals like Monahay grew not only as local celebrations but as bridges between worlds, attracting people eager to witness the hair dances, wooden drums, and symbolic rituals that had endured through centuries of mountain life. The reforms also encouraged a new sense of community structure. The shift from privately cleared plots to collectively managed farmland introduced cooperative models where decisions were made together, resources were pooled, and success was measured not only through individual harvests, but through the well-being of the whole village. Over time, this created an environment where cultural preservation and economic progress could coexist. Families built sturdier homes, children attended schools built closer to their villages, and opportunities slowly expanded as the outside world took notice of Yunnan's extraordinary diversity. Today, as you walk through Kanjuan, the influence of these reforms is woven into every detail: the well-irrigated fields that stretch across the valleys, the roads carved into once inaccessible slopes, and the sense of stability reflected in the lives of the people. The ancient customs of the Wa remain alive, their festivals still filled with laughter, music, and the deep meaning passed down from their ancestors. Yet alongside this heritage stands a new chapter, one shaped by cooperation, adaptation, and the opening of a region once known only for its isolation. Through these transformations, the story of Kanjuan continues, carried forward by a people who have embraced the future without letting go of the past. Beyond the misty mountains of Kanjuan and the terraced rice fields that now flourish thanks to mid-century reforms, Yunnan reveals another side of its vitality: a world where centuries-old traditions meet the opportunities of a rapidly modernizing economy. In Kunming, the provincial capital, the pace quickens and the senses are immediately captivated. And known as the Spring City for its mild highland climate and year-round blossoms, Kunming has become a hub where the beauty of nature is transformed into commerce on a scale few could have imagined decades ago. The Down Flower Market is a place where tradition, technology, and human ingenuity converge, stretching across vast halls where billions of flowers, more than 12,000 per minute, are meticulously sorted, auctioned, and prepared for shipment. Here, buyers and sellers navigate a rhythm as precise as any financial market, yet their currency is living, fragile, and fragrant. Flowers that once adorned local shrines or village homes now travel across the globe, connecting Yunnan's landscapes to distant lives in ways that were unimaginable to earlier generations. The market is more than a place of trade. It is a testament to how cultural familiarity with flora, long nurtured in gardens and temples, has evolved into a modern, high-value enterprise. Further south, in the mountains surrounding Hikai, the story continues with a slower, quieter intensity. The Buling Mountains cradle ancient tea trees, some believed to be over 1,000 years old, their twisted trunks and gnarled roots carrying the history of generations of Laho tea cultivators. Among them, Newa, a guardian of these natural treasures, tends to the trees with a knowledge that blends folklore, observation, and decades of patient labor. Each leaf plucked is a thread in a tapestry that links the past to the present. The leaves are processed into pure tea, a product that is both a cultural artifact and an economic engine. Value its complexity and rarity. The tea undergoes meticulous roasting, pressing, and aging, its flavors maturing over decades in a way that mirrors the care with which the mountains themselves were preserved. The knowledge required to harvest these leaves, passed from elder to younger generations, ensures that while the market grows, the essence of the tradition remains intact. Pure tea is more than a commodity. It is a living connection to history, a bridge between the quiet dedication of highland villagers and the bustling modern marketplaces of the world. Yet Yunnan's transformation does not end with tea. In recent decades, coffee, once an outsider in the land of tea, has taken root in Pu'er, flourishing in the humid, fertile environment alongside the ancient tea trees. Entrepreneurs like Dong Shuk Siang have guided the growth of this young industry, helping local farmers cultivate beans that meet international standards while preserving sustainable practices in these sensitive ecosystems. The result is a new wave of opportunity. Coffee production has drawn over 1 million people into the region's economy, and domestic demand continues to surge as urban Chinese consumers embrace the beverage. Here, ancient landscapes are animated by new commerce, where every coffee cherry picked carries the weight of human skill, tradition, and market insight. In these three threads, the bustling flower auctions of Kunming, the enduring guardianship of pure tea trees, and the emergent coffee farms of southern Yunnan, one sees a pattern emerge. Traditional practices have not been abandoned. They have been elevated. They coexist with modern system, creating industries that are both economically vital and culturally resonant. The past informs every decision, whether it is choosing the perfect blossom, carefully nurturing a century-old tea tree, or selecting the ripest coffee cherry. Through this interplay of heritage and innovation, Yunnan demonstrates how a province, once remote and isolated, can become a crucible of high-value industries that honor the land and the people who steward it, proving that progress need not erase history, but can instead amplify it. Traveling further into the lush lowlands of Yunnan, where rivers carve their way through tropical jungles and valleys hum with life, one encounters the Dai people, a Buddhist ethnic group whose presence stretches back centuries along the fertile banks of the Mekong, known locally as the Langkang River. Unlike the Highland whose lives are tied to mountains and terraces, the Dai have always drawn sustenance and inspiration from water, seeing it not merely as a resource but as a sacred force, a source of life, and a bridge between the human and spiritual worlds. Their villages cluster along rivers and streams, with houses raised on stilts to honor both the rhythms of the water and the wisdom of generations that have adapted to monsoon rains, flooding, and the gentle flow of life that rivers dictate. Among the most vivid expressions of this worldview are the Dai's water-related festivals, events that seamlessly blend religion, legend, and community spirit. The Water Splashing Festival, celebrated at the dawn of the Dai New Year, transforms streets, courtyards, and riverbanks into a sea of joyous play. From the moment the first splash lands, laughter mingles with ritual. Young and old, locals and visitors, engage in playful exchanges, drenching one another while simultaneously honoring the cleansing and rejuvenating power of water. It is a celebration of renewal, a symbolic washing away of misfortune, and an affirmation of life as continuity. Beneath the reverie lies centuries of Buddhist belief, the philosophy of karma, and the deep reverence for nature that governs Dai understanding of the universe. Further into the heart of these communities, the Holy Fish Festival illustrates the intimate connection between legend and practice. In small towns like Menglin, the Nanle River becomes a stage for a tradition that dates back nearly a millennium, commemorating the mythical sacrifice of the fish god who once nourished a famine-stricken people. Over 2 kilometers of riverbanks are lined with thousands of participants, armed not with fishing rods but with baskets, nets, and an intimate knowledge of the currents that has been honed over decades. Fathers teach sons, mothers guide daughters, and neighbors cheer one another on in a spectacle that is as much about community cohesion as it is about catching fish. Here, the past is not just remembered, it is actively relived. Each splash, each tug of a net, and every triumphant cheer connects the participants to a lineage of beliefs and practices that have survived invasions, political upheavals, and the inexorable advance of modernity. The Dai's relationship with water is also profoundly aesthetic. Dragon boat races punctuate the festivals, their vibrant vessels slicing through the river in choreographed competition, echoing the movements of mythical dragons that are central to Dai mythology. Lotus lanterns float at twilight, illuminating temples and riverbanks in golden reflections, offering prayers for health, prosperity, and the welfare of the community. Observing these rituals, one realizes that the Dai have mastered a balance between solemn devotion and exuberant celebration, understanding that religion, legend, and communal identity are inseparable elements of daily life. Yet beyond the spectacle, these festivals carry deeper lessons. They are forums where social bonds are reinforced, knowledge of the environment is shared, and the wisdom of elders guides the next generation. For the young, participating in the water splashing or holy fish festival is a rite of passage. Teaching coordination, respect, and the joy of shared labor. For elders, it is a time to impart stories, advice, and blessings, ensuring that the spiritual and cultural threads of the community continue unbroken. In the day villages along Yunnan's rivers, water is more than liquid, it is the lifeblood of culture, memory, and continuity, a force that shapes not only the land, but the hearts and minds of the people who call it home. Through these rituals, the Dai exemplify how tradition can thrive even in a changing world, and how a community's spirit can flow as freely and powerfully as the rivers that sustain it. As we journey through the many layers of Yunnan, from its mist-shrouded highlands to the sunlit lowlands, it becomes clear that this province is a place where history and progress walk hand in hand, each shaping the other in ways both subtle and profound. In the northern reaches, communities like the Wa and Lahu continue to honor centuries-old traditions, celebrating festivals that connect them to ancestors, the land, and each other, while embracing the benefits of modern infrastructure that allow them to farm more efficiently and trade more widely. Descending into the fertile valleys of the day, water remains both a lifeline and a spiritual guide, carrying festivals that are vibrant, communal, and steeped in legend, yet equally capable of engaging a new generation eager to explore, learn, and participate. Modern Yunnan is not only defined by its living cultures, but also by innovations that preserve them. Professor Zhu Langwen's work in designing earthquake-safe day-style houses demonstrates a remarkable fusion of tradition and engineering, ensuring that generations to come can continue to live in homes inspired by centuries of local architectural wisdom, while enjoying the protections and efficiencies of contemporary materials and techniques. These homes stand as symbols of a province that values both heritage and safety, showing that modernization does not need to erase history, but rather can honor it in ways that are tangible, practical, and beautiful. Alongside cultural preservation, the spirit of youthful ambition and courage is evident. Young swimmers train rigorously to face the powerful currents of the Mekong. Their feats are testament to the determination, resilience, and skill that mirror the qualities of their forebears who navigated these rivers to trade, travel, and sustain life for centuries. Whether it is mastering the challenges of a raging river or refining the skills needed to cultivate high-value crops like pure tea and coffee, the people of Yunnan embody a remarkable balance of respect for the past and readiness for the future. The province's economic arteries, such as Guanli Port, further illustrate this delicate balance. As boats laden with goods set out for Southeast Asia, the modern infrastructure of trade flows seamlessly through landscapes that have nurtured civilizations for millennia. Here, tradition meets commerce, and Yunnan's extraordinary diversity becomes a strength, enabling a network of exchange that enriches both local communities and international markets. The ancient tea horse road may have faded from daily use, but its legacy survives in the ways Yunnanese products, culture, and knowledge continue to travel far beyond the province's borders. Ultimately, Yunnan teaches a lesson about resilience, adaptation, and the beauty of diversity. It is a place where ancient customs are not mere relics of the past, but living practices that shape identity, inform innovation, inspire future generations. By balancing rapid development with careful preservation, Yunnan demonstrates that culture and progress are not mutually exclusive, they can coexist, enrich one another, and tell a story that is as compelling as the mountains, rivers, and forests themselves. Thank you for taking this journey with us through Yunnan's hidden valleys, bustling markets, and sacred rivers. If you enjoyed exploring these extraordinary cultures, do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to discover more stories from the hidden corners of the world. Your support helps us bring these vibrant histories and remarkable traditions to life for everyone to see.